So let me get this straight. We live in a world with alien gods, chakra-eating tree people, talking frogs that can time warp prophecies to little kids everywhere, and a kid who wakes up one morning and says, yeah, I just made this brand new super powerful jutsu that breaks every rule in sensory ninjutsu, and I did it in 24 hours. And you have Shikadai Nara, the resident, I've been over this since I was 8 years old prodigy. He hears all of this and immediately goes, yeah, that right there, that is whole cap. Join me in today's newest Naruto Explained video where your OBC, your original Boruto chief, is going to be diving into why Shikadai Nara might be the next person in Boruto's generation to start putting the pieces together, why he might be the one to figure out that Inojin is secretly helping Boruto, and yes, how he might even start piecing together the existence of 10 Directions despite never having ever met Kashin Koji a day in his life in the manga continuity. Forget everything that you saw in the anime. Chapter 28 of 2 Blue Vortex has quietly set the stage for something huge, and I think a lot of fans have missed it. Shikadai wasn't just annoyed, he was also skeptical. He wasn't just fed up with Boruto's name even being mentioned because he's a traitor. He was also thinking very hard in this chapter, and for any member of the Nara clan, let alone the child of Temari and Shikamaru, two of the biggest geniuses in the history of Naruto, that is a dangerous sign for anyone who is the ire of his skepticism, if you will. So let's break it all down, and as a quick reminder, check out the chapter review if you've not seen it already, which will be linked in the end credits and the description box for anyone who hasn't seen it, because we got the review out after the official release, so I thank you for your patience and your support. So first and foremost, we got to start with why chapter 28 set up Shikadai as the next big realizer, potentially. So Shikadai already spent most of chapter 28 when he was in it voicing frustration. He doesn't like that Shikamaru is cooperating with Boruto, the traitor who killed Naruto and Hinata. He doesn't like that Sarada and Himawari are defending Boruto. He especially hates the fact that Himawari became a ninja just so she could help Boruto. Everyone keeps treating Boruto like he's some misunderstood tragic hero, when in Shikadai's mind, he's looking at it like, no, this guy's a traitor. He killed the Hokage. We got to kill him too. In short, Shikadai's not having it. But then when Shikamaru is explaining the details of Inojin's new jutsu, that's when everything changed for the #1 hater of Boruto's generation, Shikadai. Because the moment that Shikamaru is telling the description of it, Shikadai hears it and hears the sensory range and the communication ability and the precision of it. He knows instantly, hey, wait a second, something is off. And more importantly, Shikadai is coming to this conclusion after having questioned his father. This is the same kid who, if he's anything like his parents in the manga, he reads the room like a Sudoku puzzle. The moment that Shikamaru's eye twitches, the moment that Shikadai hears how this jutsu works, he knows the exact math behind everything that has happened. And even though he don't have all the numbers to add up, this boy can look at the picture and say, this don't make sense. But what makes this so juicy is that in the context behind that suspicion, Shikadai isn't just smart, he's quite literally trained for this. His upbringing makes him the most optimal person, excuse me for misspeaking, to spot the abnormal developments in the Inashikacho trio. And that's the first thing we have to look at here. Shikadai is uniquely equipped to notice that Inojin's impossible progress is something that is a red flag. Because as a reminder, nowhere in the manga did we ever hear anything that Inojin was this gifted prodigy. Whereas Shikadai, he isn't just a clever kid, he's literally the child of Shikamaru Nara, one of the greatest tacticians in the series, and Temari will probably kill you with wind release and sarcasm simultaneously, especially if you don't consider her a prodigy. And on top of that, he's been training since his childhood with Inojin and Chōchō across all 3 clans, the Nara clan, the Yamanaka clan, and the Akimichi clan. This is very crucial because the Inashikacho trio isn't just a tradition team. It's practically a bloodstream bond. Every generation of these clans for decades have worked together. From childhood, they learn each clan's hidden jutsu, how those techniques develop, which none of those techniques, mind transfer, shadow possession, expansion jutsu, none of those are Kekkei Genkai. I still see people getting confused on that. They're not Kekkei Genkai, they're hidden jutsu. And they learn those different details, that way they can coordinate together. This also means that they know how long it takes to refine those jutsu into something else. They understand the physical mental toll that comes with experimentation and exactly how much effort it takes to push these boundaries, especially when you're doing something that has never been done in the hundreds of years that these clans have been around. So when Inojin suddenly just has this new hyper advanced sensory and communication jutsu that feels like a fusion of the Yamanaka clan's telepathy jutsu and their sensory jutsu on a more advanced level, basically on steroids, Shikadai knows something is wrong immediately. And here's the kicker. You have to understand that Shikadai would have seen Inojin training during the time skip. He knows what Inojin can and cannot do. They train together as a team. They've also been taking their spare time to train Himawari. This jutsu raises a lot of red flags for him, 3 in particular. The first red flag is that this jutsu would have been useful before. If Inojin had this jutsu during Jura and Hidari's emergence, it would have come in handy. They could have quickly located them and been of better assistance. Then also during Code's assault, any major threat to Konoha in the time since Boruto emerged, it would have been optimal to use it. Shikadai knows that, and Shikadai remembers all those missions. Shikadai has been keeping score, even if he's been doing it subconsciously. Now, red flag number 2 is that jutsu creation takes time, a lot of time. Even extending the existing hidden jutsu is something that takes a long process. But when you start creating something from scratch, or when you build on something that's already in existence, that takes months, sometimes even years, not 24 hours. It's not a LOL surprise smiley face, I made a brand new technique. That don't happen. Flag number 3, they don't even know where Inojin is. Shikadai is gonna be smart enough to realize, I ain't seen Inojin in 24 hours. I don't know where this boy is. No one's had contact with him. The last that anyone saw him was when he dropped off that sunflower honey to Himawari. But suddenly Inojin is contributing to a battle-changing intel from afar. Yeah, Shikadai's sixth sense is gonna be screaming, and he's gonna know there's some Boruto fuckery going on, which that now brings me to the next and most crucial point here, which is that Shikadai might be beginning to realize that Inojin is also helping Boruto. So boys and girls, grab those brown pants. Make sure you got your yellow pants on too, because if you're prone to pooping or peeing yourself, you're really going to want to sit down for this one. Make sure you got your right clothes on, because if Shikadai is able to figure this out, that's huge. Shikadai's already furious that Sarada and Himawari trust Boruto. He hates that Shikamaru is collaborating with Boruto. But when suddenly he gets the suspicion that his teammate Inojin is acting in a way that only makes sense if he's directly connected to Boruto, that's going to be a red flag, especially given that Inojin obviously has a crush on Himawari. Inojin's currently missing. Nobody's seen him. Inojin's also using a brand new jutsu that did not exist prior. Inojin's intel is also something that's being used to assist Boruto. Inojin's jutsu is something that perfectly allows Boruto to operate in a way where he'd be a hell of a support character. Again, secret communication is a part of this jutsu, communication that cannot be tracked. Shikadai might not like Boruto. He definitely doesn't trust Boruto because omnipotence, but he's not stupid. He's gonna figure out very quickly where all these pieces fit together. He's gonna realize if Inojin was alone, he couldn't have made this jutsu, not this fast. Inojin, based on everything we've seen, is a ordinary shinobi. There's nothing super special about him. Manga continuity. Again, anime and manga, 2 different continuities. So this would not be possible for Inojin. If Inojin is suddenly next level smart enough to make a jutsu this complex in such a short period of time, Inojin is going to ask the question, who taught him? Because it's a lot easier to be taught a jutsu than to make it from scratch. That's how Minato spent years making the Rasengan, but Naruto, over the span of 3 weeks, is able to master the Rasengan, because again, it took him 3 weeks to go through all the stages and steps, not just the 1 week to put all the steps of the Rasengan together. Boruto was able to master Rasengan in only a few days. So who do you think Shikamaru is going to suspect? Well, I'm going to throw a wild card out here. I'm going to say I don't think that he directly suspects Boruto in the long run. I think that he might be the one who stumbles across 10 Directions in general. So this is where it gets fun. This is where I need those brown pants of yours to be on, or those yellow pants to be on. Make sure those tidy whities are not showing when you get to this part of the video. So Shikadai's brain works a lot like Shikamaru's. He creates dozens of possibilities and he throws out the impossible ones. Except this is the Naruto world. Talking animals, yep. Dimensional portals, yep. Parasites that can cause mass scale destruction. Well, that's just a Tuesday. We've had like 100 Otsuki pop up. So for Shikadai, despite being rational, he has to admit, for as crazy as it sounds, future knowledge, that would technically be on the table. It's crazy to even consider it, even in this fantastical world. But when it's the only thing that makes sense, it is something that you would consider. Or even if you're told that that's how it's done, you would go from that can't be possible to again realizing, well, all this other stuff is taking place. It kind of makes sense. Like, let's use an example from Death Note. Shikadai is basically in the position that L was in. L refused to believe that Shikigami could even be real, but it was a possibility that he still had to consider because of how nonsensical everything that was happening was. It's the same thing here with Shikadai and potentially figuring out 10 Directions exists. You would arrive at that conclusion. There's a distinct possibility that Shikadai could go, I can't even believe I'm considering this, but the idea of everything else that's happened in this world, that shouldn't surprise me. I don't think he would initially believe a time-related explanation, but it is worth noting he does know that Ada can see things in the past and the present. The only thing missing is the future. He is smart enough to make that logical conclusion. And this is the beauty about Shikadai being a Nara clan member. The moment that a Nara clan member refuses to rule something out, the door is wide open. And that leads us to the next part, which is that how Shikadai could discover 10 Directions on his own. So let's be clear, in the manga, Shikadai's never met Kashin Koji. He's never even heard of 10 Directions. But this is where Shikadai's intelligence becomes plot relevant, because Shikadai doesn't need to meet someone to deduce their existence. He is smart enough to track behavioral inconsistencies. He is smart enough to map out strategic patterns. He is smart enough to connect knowledge to possible teachers. He is smart enough to measure deviations in intel. He knows that Shikamaru is not giving him all the information. He also is observant enough to identify gaps in power explanations. And most importantly, he knows Inojin. He knows how he thinks. He knows how he trains. He knows how he struggles. He knows what his instincts are. And Shikadai knows that Inojin making a jutsu like this quickly without him realizing it, that's not possible. What Shikadai is seeing right now is a jutsu that's too advanced, a jutsu that's too sudden, a jutsu that is too strategically perfect for this one moment when it could have come in handy a lot sooner, and a jutsu that fits into Boruto's behavior in this moment. He can reasonably deduce there is a third party involved. It would have to be someone older and more skilled, and that could lead to a natural conclusion that there's another figure at play, that there's someone who is helping Boruto, someone who is capable of teaching jutsu so advanced that even my father is impressed. He'll have all the pieces but not be able to make a direct connection to 10 Directions or to Kashin Koji. But when someone as smart as Shikadai begins to start poking around the edges, eventually they find a way into whatever it is you're hiding. And that now brings me to why this sets up Shikadai's emotional conflict. So this is where it gets heartbreaking. Shikadai's suspicion of Boruto, it isn't logical, it's emotional. He genuinely believes Boruto killed Naruto, that he killed Hinata, that he betrayed the village, that he abandoned his friends. And Shikadai is furious because his entire world was flipped upside down by Omnipotence, and the sad part, he doesn't even know it. But as he starts unraveling Inojin's secret involvement with Boruto, something will shift, something has to give, because Shikadai operates on logic. If he logically concludes that Boruto is helping Inojin, if Boruto is protecting the village, if Boruto is preparing for threats, if Boruto is cooperating with Shikamaru the Hokage, if Boruto is supporting the new generation from afar, then Shikadai is facing the question he's been avoiding all along, which is, what if Boruto is not the problem? What if Sarada and Himawari are right? You gotta understand, for someone like him who is this conflicted with this much hate in his heart for Boruto, that's going to be a fork in the road moment. If Shikadai starts realizing Boruto is acting heroically behind the scenes with pure intentions, then the entire foundation of his anger is going to crack. And that's when the emotional tragedy of omnipotence is going to hit him like a brick. Him finally reaching the point where he realizes maybe Boruto didn't betray us, maybe Boruto has been saving us, maybe Boruto is innocent like Sarada said. One of two things is going to happen. Either that's going to serve as a strong enough anchor for him to begin questioning whether or not his memories have been altered, or omnipotence is going to hold those memories hostage. He wants to trust Boruto, but his mind won't let him. We've seen how omnipotence forces people who do not have strong enough anchors to give into the memory rewriting that omnipotence did. Again, Ada is a pun on Ada Lovelace, the first computer programmer. Ada is a computer programming language. Momoshiki compared omnipotence to computer programming for the gods. Basically, think about omnipotence like it is a constantly running code that is continuously updating every time that there is a glitch in the system. That glitch in the system is anytime someone like Shikadai begins to question why things they're seeing do not match their memories. It's overpowered to the point that someone like Shikamaru can't even recall the word omnipotence as a concept. Omnipotence makes them bend to submission to accept it unless they have that strong anchor, and that is storytelling gold. And that brings me to the next point, which is that Shikadai's potential turning point, it might be coming up. If Shikadai figures this out before confronting Boruto again, he might become a tragic figure because his logic tells him Boruto's innocent. His heart tells him that Boruto is dangerous. His memories tell him that Boruto murdered Naruto. His instincts, they're telling him that something doesn't add up. His friendship is telling him he's wrong. Again, Himawari and Sarada have been sticking up for Boruto, but omnipotence is basically whispering in his mind, hey fam, you're right. You need to hate that guy. Slap that Thunderburger out his face. This is what makes Shikadai's arc so potentially heartbreaking. He's smart enough he might uncover the truth, but he might not be able to free himself in order to believe it. That sets up a brutal moment in the future. That sets up why omnipotence is so broken. Shikadai might realize that he hates Boruto for reasons that were never real, which brings me to the next point, which is that Shikadai trusting Boruto would be massive. So if Shikadai does end up trusting Boruto, if he does end up overcoming omnipotence, that means no emotional attachment. That means no previous bonds, no deep love or admiration, just pure unfiltered rationality. This would allow him to operate in a way where he is supporting Boruto. All that time where Sarada's saying, hey, you're remembering things wrong. Boruto's really Naruto's child. Everything will begin to fall into place for him. Again, handing out baby photos of Naruto holding Boruto was not enough. People have to discover the anchor for themselves. For Shikadai, this would be one hell of an anchor. And this would be Boruto gaining an ally this new generation, where he is getting one of the smartest characters from that generation as an ally, which that is bad news for Kawaki. Shikadai has always been presented as this smart guy, but chapter 28 has quietly positioned him as something bigger. He's not just annoyed with Boruto. He's not just critical of his father. He's not just frustrated with those in the village who support Boruto, namely Sarada and Himawari. But when a Nara clan member starts thinking, if you're got something to hide, people are going to get exposed. And right now, Shikadai is uniquely positioned to Notice Inojin's jutsu development is impossible. Boruto's involvement in this is crazy. Boruto would also have help outside of Shikamaru, and he might start potentially following the breadcrumbs of 10 directions but never truly get to that answer, not unless he's told about it, and begin questioning his own hatred and eventually confront Omnipotence. Maybe, just maybe, he ends up becoming Boruto's next unexpected ally, or he might end up becoming the next tragic victim of Omnipotence manipulation, where he gets close to figuring out the truth and then Omnipotence basically beats him back into submission. Either way, Shikadai's role in the story is about to get a lot more important. Obviously, if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing and clicking here on the left for that Boruto chapter review if it's up on the channel, or click here on the right to check out videos from other two anime channels where I talk about non-Naruto content.